She put finger-stirred night sky above the research outpost was filled with quiet lights from distant stars. The wind moved over the dry plain, whispering through the tall grass. It was quiet until the storm came. The scanners showed a wave of static moving across the sky, and then the world went dark. The base lost all power, the sound of alarms stopped mid-note, and the only light came from the red glow of backup. Stood near the main console, he was the youngest systems engineer on the team, and tonight he was alone on duty. He tried to restart the power grid, but the system refused to respond to his fingers. Moved quickly on the manual keys when a cold shimmer of light filled the room. It was not from any lamp, it was soft silver. Like fog made of moonlight, it spread slowly across the floor, and then he saw Hirsch was standing near the entrance. Her shape was clear, but her skin looked faintly blue, as if the color of the sky at dawn had settled there. Her hair shimmered like the surface of deep water, and her eyes had no pupils, only pale light. She looked calm, even as the wind outside howled. Evan felt his breath stop for a moment. His mind told him to speak, but his body forgot how. She stepped closer. Her movements were smooth, silent, almost like she was floating. She looked at him, not with threat, but with strange curiosity. She touched the metal wall beside her, and it healed the dents that the storm had left the machines, flickered back to life around her, and the main power core began to hum again. Evan stared as the lights returned, but none of the cameras showed her form. She was invisible to every device. Except his eyes. "Whoa, are you?" he tried to ask, but his voice failed. The air felt thick like the world had slowed down. She came near and stood close enough that he could see faint markings moving under her skin. They looked alive, glowing softly as if something inside her was flowing like liquid silver. She raised her hand and put her finger gently on his lips, and time froze Avery. Things stopped, the hum of the machines, the wind outside, even the flicker of lights in the hall. He could still breathe, but nothing else moved. She looked into his eyes, and somehow he heard her voice. "Never move, do not speak human," she said. "Your world is about to end, and only silence can keep." Ivan's heart beat faster. He wanted to ask what she meant, but he could not move. She stepped away and walked to the main viewport beyond the glass. The storm outside had split open, and through it a shape appeared. It was massive, dark, and distant, like a mountain moving in space. Its surface glowed with red veins like magma flowing under glass. The alien woman watched it with calm focus. Then she looked back at him again. "The storm will eat sound," she said. "If you speak, the wave will find you. If you are silent, you may live." Ish turned to leave, but paused when he reached out his hand. He still could not move his lips, but his eyes asked her to stay. She hesitated, as if reading his thoughts. Then she said softly, "My name is Lyra. I am not from your stars. Came here following the noise your world made when it burned its sky." Her tone held no anger, only sadness, as if she had seen this before. Time began to move again. Her hand left his lips, and the sound of the storm rushed back. The lights flickered, and the walls shook. She walked through the metal doors without touching them. They opened by themselves. Evan ran after her, but outside there was only the empty field, and the storm above her light was gone. But in the distance, you could see something glowing faintly, blue, moving through the wind. Hours passed before the storm faded. The power grid was destroyed, but he found the central core untouched. In the middle of it, a single mark glowed the same silver-blue color that he had seen on her skin. He touched it, and for a moment saw her eyes in his mind, filled with that calm light. Then the vision faded. He stood in silence, unsure if she had been real, or if the storm had simply made him dream. Next morning, rescue teams arrived. They said the storm was not natural, that it came from a burst of radiation from somewhere beyond the moon. Evan said nothing. He looked at the horizon and thought of the shape that had moved behind the clouds, the one Lyra had called the Eater of Sound. That night he heard a faint hum again from the sky. He stepped outside and saw lights like falling stars moving toward the west. One of them slowed and stopped above the plain, and a voice filled his thoughts. "You kept silent," the voice said, "and because of that, your world still breathes." He looked up and saw her form again, faint but bright enough to make the shadows move. She smiled once before. fading into the night, leaving behind only the whisper of wind over the grass.